Hawaii is facing a dangerous weather situation as an unusually strong Kona storm begins to directly impact the islands. This storm system, formed from westerly winds, is pulling in a large amount of moisture from the ocean, causing conditions to change rapidly and exceed the normal response capacity of both infrastructure and residents. Rain intensified overnight and quickly reached rates of 0.98 to 1.97 inches per hour. This is not intermittent rainfall, but continuous, dense, and heavy rain that prevents water from draining effectively. Under these conditions, people can barely see ahead when moving outdoors, and travel becomes risky within a very short period of time. Winds are strengthening alongside the rain, creating a highly unfavorable combination. The wind is not just blowing, it is forcefully hitting homes, trees, and vehicles, increasing the risk of damage and accidents. When strong winds and heavy rain occur simultaneously, people rapidly lose control over the situation, especially in open or coastal areas. The first impacts are seen in drainage systems and low-lying areas. Water begins to accumulate on the surface instead of soaking into the ground. Roads start to show visible flowing water rather than simple pooling, indicating that drainage systems are already overwhelmed. The cause is not only heavy rainfall, but also Hawaii's characteristic terrain. Many areas have steep slopes, causing water to flow quickly downhill rather than remain in place. As heavy rain continues, water from higher elevations converges at the same time, increasing pressure on residential areas and infrastructure below. Once water accumulation exceeds drainage capacity, the situation changes clearly. Streets are no longer just flooded, they develop strong currents. The ground becomes saturated, weakening its structure and increasing the risk of landslides and collapse. This is the stage where risk moves beyond forecasts and becomes a real, visible impact. From this point on, Hawaii is no longer dealing with a typical heavy rain event. Multiple dangerous factors are now occurring at the same time. Intense rainfall, strong winds, water accumulation, and steep terrain. When these factors combine, the risk of flash flooding becomes extremely high, and conditions can change rapidly from hour to hour. Immediately after water levels began rising and drainage systems lost control, the situation in Hawaii rapidly shifted into a phase of real damage. What had previously been warning signs quickly turned into direct impacts on infrastructure and daily life. In Maui, rainfall exceeded about 20 inches within 24 hours, creating enormous water pressure. Water no longer flowed normally, but surged downhill from higher elevations, accelerating over steep terrain and forming powerful currents. Roads could no longer withstand the force. Many sections were eroded from underneath and collapsed, creating deep gaps that cut across transportation routes. Vehicles began to lose control. Some were pushed sideways, spun around, and collided with each other as the force of the water increased. Others were abandoned on the road because they could no longer move. People inside these vehicles faced a difficult situation. Staying meant rising water, while getting out meant confronting strong currents outside. In Iao Valley, a home was partially destroyed as water rose rapidly in a short period of time. The flow carried mud, trees, and debris that repeatedly slammed into the rear structure, causing it to give way. When large trees began to be uprooted, it was a clear sign that the force had exceeded the environment's limits. Infrastructure began to fail in a chain reaction. In the South Kihei area, roads collapsed as the ground beneath them was hollowed out by water. Water pipes and drainage systems were damaged, allowing water to spread further and become harder to control. Fallen trees and downed power poles turned many areas into hazardous zones, even as water levels started to recede. A critical turning point occurred when power outages spread widely. More than 35,000 customers lost electricity. As lights went out, information became limited, and people's ability to respond dropped significantly. Many areas became isolated, cut off by both flooding and the lack of power. Prolonged heavy rain, steep terrain, and saturated ground combined at the same time, leaving water with nowhere to drain. Damage continued to spread, and the ability to control the situation became increasingly limited with each passing hour.
Florida and my experience with Hurricane Ian. Water that came inside the laundry room. A bunch of really big trees snapped in half.
More than 35,000 households were left without power. When electricity is cut off, daily life nearly comes to a halt. Nights become densely dark, with visibility so low that people can barely see their surroundings, hearing only the sound of wind roaring and water slamming against homes. Disrupted communication leaves many unsure of what is happening beyond their immediate area. Transportation is nearly paralyzed. Many roads are blocked by landslides, fallen trees, and downed power poles. The road to Kona has become a major bottleneck as debris and earth completely block access. Vehicles cannot move, and many people are forced to stop mid-journey. Movement is no longer a choice, but a risk. Rescue forces have been operating continuously. Multiple floodwater rescues are being carried out under unstable conditions. Fast-moving water, carrying mud and debris, makes it difficult and dangerous to reach victims. Every step requires calculation, as even a small misjudgment can lead to accidents during rescue operations. Pressure is rapidly building on the response system. Authorities have acknowledged they are nearing their staffing limits. As soon as one area is addressed, new incidents emerge elsewhere. The situation is no longer managed according to plan, but handled in a constant state of high stress. For residents, the impact is direct and clear. Many homes are flooded, with water levels in some areas exceeding 12 inches. Thick mud covers pathways, making movement as difficult as walking on unstable, sinking ground. Living spaces are reduced, forcing families to move belongings to higher ground or evacuate. Tourists are also caught in the situation. Some are just a short distance from their accommodation, but cannot cross due to strong currents. Every decision carries risk. Crossing could mean being swept away, while staying means facing a lack of power and limited information. The current situation is the result of multiple days of continuous rain, causing water to accumulate without drainage, combined with steep terrain that accelerates flow, and damaged infrastructure that has rendered drainage systems nearly inoperative. This has pushed people into a completely reactive position. From this point, the storm is no longer just a weather event, but a direct pressure on every household and the entire response system. As many areas remain isolated, response capacity is stretched, and risks continue to escalate if the hazardous conditions do not subside. The situation in Hawaii continues to escalate as natural factors reach extreme levels and begin to cause impacts beyond initial expectations. Strong winds have intensified significantly, reaching speeds of approximately 80 to 100 miles per hour in higher elevations. This is no longer just uncomfortable wind, but a force capable of uprooting large trees, tearing off roofs, and making movement nearly impossible. The sound of wind howling continuously, slamming against doors and walls, creates a constant sense of pressure building. On the island's highest peaks, significant snowfall has begun, with some areas recording up to about 20 inches. The snow does not fall gently, but is blown sideways by the wind, sticking heavily to surfaces and equipment. This has caused observation systems, such as NASA cameras, to stop functioning, disrupting real-time monitoring in critical areas. At the same time, water from higher elevations is rushing downward at greater speeds due to the island's steep terrain. As water accumulates, the flow becomes stronger and harder to control, carrying mud, sand, and debris. The water turns dark brown, indicating a large amount of sediment being transported and actively reshaping the landscape hour by hour. Areas that were previously small drainage channels have turned into large, forceful streams, in some places cascading like waterfalls. The terrain is being altered, flow directions are shifting, and the risk of landslides is increasing significantly. This not only endangers residents, but also disrupts rescue operations, as access routes become unstable and unpredictable. The extreme nature of this situation is caused by multiple factors occurring at the same time. Prolonged heavy rainfall continuously feeds water into the system. Kona winds keep pushing additional moisture in, and the steep terrain accelerates runoff. When all these factors peak simultaneously, the ability to control the situation is nearly lost. Residents are now faced with difficult choices. Staying inside carries the risk of structural damage from wind and water, while going outside means dealing with poor visibility and strong currents. Both options involve serious danger. Although the storm is beginning to weaken as it moves away, the impacts it has created continue to spread. With the terrain already altered and water still in motion, The effects do not stop immediately, but continue even after the storm has passed. Whoa. The storm has weakened, but Hawaii is still in a dangerous situation. The rain has not completely stopped. The National Weather Service continues to maintain flood warnings for Maui County and the island of Hawaii. After days of continuous rainfall, the ground is fully saturated, and just another round of rain could cause water levels to rise rapidly again. The risk of flash flooding remains present. Many areas may appear stable at first glance, but the ground beneath has already been weakened. Some roads could collapse at any moment under additional pressure. Thick mud still covers many areas, making surfaces slippery and difficult to navigate, increasing the risk of falls and accidents. The power system has not yet been fully restored after more than 35,000 households lost electricity. Repair efforts are difficult because many areas remain flooded or have downed power lines. Residents are still waiting under unstable living conditions. The risk of landslides remains. The soil has been weakened by water, and even light rain or minor vibrations could trigger further movement. Areas that were previously considered safe have now become unpredictable. Residents are facing difficult decisions. Should they return to normal activities as the rain decreases, or continue waiting while conditions remain unsafe? Leaving early could expose them to risks from weakened roads and unstable ground. Staying means dealing with power outages and limited information. The reason this situation is prolonged is that large amounts of water have not yet drained, infrastructure has been damaged, and the terrain has been altered by the storm. These factors prevent recovery from happening quickly. Hawaii has passed the worst phase, but it has not returned to normal. The risk remains, and the situation needs to be closely monitored in the coming days. I would really like to hear what you are experiencing right now. If you are living in Hawaii, Maui, or any area affected by this storm, what is the situation like around you? What has been the most difficult challenge you are facing? Please share your story in the comments. Every experience matters. If you want to stay updated with the latest developments and clear, easy-to-understand analysis, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next updates.